Today she will be telling us about using organizational collaboration to develop programming and encourage professional development. Please welcome Paige Simpson.
Hi, everybody. Come on, hello, everybody. Don't leave me standing here. I'm already a little self-conscious of I'm dressed a little like a traditionalist, and I don't have good work-life balance because I'm working on a Saturday, even though I'm a Gen Xer. So anyway, it is great to be here today, and I'm going to be sharing with you, talking about leadership and collaboration and learning. And I think that, Robert I really like the way he stated about building professional equity through education and experience. And I really think that that's what professional development brings those two things together and allows us to do. So over our short time together today, what I'd like to do is for you to reflect on a little bit deeper on your experience of learning in the process of professional development, to expand your thinking about what professional development can be. I'd like to familiarize you with the work that's being done in Balboa Park in San Diego along these lines, and inspire you to go back to sort of what Joan was talking about earlier this morning, to take risks and to think outside of the box and to use professional development as a way to do that. So before we go any further, just want to take a moment and have us all sort of clearing our minds. I love this sign, and don't you wish you had that at work? Wouldn't that be great? You could enter under that sign every day. So if you have kindly removed all your obstacles to creativity, collaboration, and learning, we're going to proceed. I have a question to ask you. So I'd like for you to think about your most compelling professional development experience, other than what's happening right now, of course. Just think back when I asked that question. What is that experience you had that immediately comes to mind? It may be positive, it may be negative, it could be a lot of different things, but when you think of, that powerful professional development experience I had, the first one that comes to your mind, what I'd like for you to do is to find someone near you and for you all to share with each other, we have just a few moments, what that experience was and why you think it was compelling, what made it compelling. So if you're in clusters of 3 or 2, whatever naturally assembles, if we'll just take a couple minutes and share that with each other. All this wonderful conversation, it sounds like you've been having some very rich learning experiences. And I wonder if there's just a couple of you who would like to briefly share one of your compelling stories and what you think made that experience compelling. Anybody? We have the microphones coming down. Who would like to share an example of a compelling professional development experience? Out of all that chatter, I know somebody has a story. Okay, down in the front.
Okay, I'm going to talk fast.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm from Seattle, came to LA to be a writer and do the arts, and I was down to my last money, and I just didn't have anything else to give, but I didn't want to do anything else but the arts. Finally, amazingly, I got this call, and it was on Monday, and they said, start on Wednesday, and I just cried. I had a tantrum, and it was to do this theater production with kids, and I just couldn't do it. Had a horrible tantrum. I was so scared. There I was in front of my dream, but I was so scared. Anyway, I go in on Wednesday, and all the little stupid games I had made up worked, and all the kids liked it, and next thing I know, 8 weeks later, I was running that program, and then the next year, I ran the whole entire program, and I just was able to live my dream from there. So that professional development of taking what I had in me and doing what I need to do just took me to my next level.
Great. Learning on the job. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm hearing from some of the things that you said, it sounds like if you look sort of up at this rubric, if you will, and you'll get a copy of this on the way out with a little more in-depth explanation around it, but this is something we've been exploring, what that experience of professional development is that makes it so powerful. And I'm hearing from what you shared, this inspired or invigorated opportunity. It sounds like it reaffirmed what you did want to do. Sometimes good professional development tells us, hey, I'm in the wrong line of work. Maybe this isn't what I want to do. It is something that you could apply to your practice. It actually led to a position. And the opportunity sounded like you had special access to something you weren't necessarily expecting. Think about the other examples that you shared with one another. Do the reasons, what made them compelling, do you see some of that reflected in this chart? It's very, yeah. Well, I would encourage you, this is sort of one of the action research things that I do in my own professional development and that I'm doing applying to my job, is to really think when you're engaged in opportunities like today, or if you're designing or involved in professional development for others, to think about these different dimensions of that experience. And you may want to, some experiences may lean more towards one than the other, or you may want them to more than the other. But this is sort of just something to help us reflect on our experience learning. So there's many different types of professional development, as you know, from very informal, whether you pick up the latest book on a topic that you're interested in, or more formal like we are here today in a presentation, very individual or group, and low cost. And I put funded instead of high cost, purposefully, because sometimes we have just what we need to do what we're doing. It doesn't necessarily have to be high cost. Other times we really have to find the most streamlined way that we can make it happen affordably. What I'd like to talk with you about now is really focus in on sort of the group dimension and how collaborative learning really can help take us forward. So I just wonder if you've ever thought about your workplace as a learning community. I see some head shaking. Anybody like, no, I've never really thought of it that way. Well, I encourage you to think that way. And just as the example that was just shared with us, there's so many opportunities on a daily basis that we can sort of grow and learn and do that in process with our colleagues, with our boss, with others. So what I'd like to do is share as an example what is going on with the Balboa Park Learning Institute, the program that I direct in San Diego, along these lines of collaborative learning. And to do that, I just wanted to give you a little bit of context and background first. So yes, once upon a time in a land that's more like 2.5 hours away, unless there's bad traffic, and then it's been up to 4 hours away. My organization, the Balboa Park Learning Institute, is a program of a nonprofit called the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership. How many of you have ever been to Balboa Park in San Diego? Oh, good, most everybody. Well, as you know, tucked away in that 1,200-acre campus are many, many different museums, the San Diego Zoo, Performing Arts Center, all kinds of different arts and culture institutions, and a lot of little groups that operate out of the park as well. Well, the 26 sort of key art, science, and cultural institutions who sort of occupy space in the park came together to form the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership. And it was actually the directors back in the early 2000s who realized they had a number of common issues facing their organizations, but to that point, they really hadn't been working together. And Balboa Park, as we know it today, kind of started back in 1915 with the Panama, California Exposition, which actually led to a lot of the organizations like the San Diego Zoo, which was kind of a leftover group of animals from that exposition. But it was so long before these cultural institutions started working together. And when the directors convened to think about how they could collaborate through a 2-year strategic planning process, it was the first time they had all been in the same room together. And you've been to Balboa Park, you know that literally their institutions are side by side. One of our directors tells the story about how when he came, it was a full year before he met another director. So even though I want you to understand that collaboration is very new still in this community where all these institutions are located so close together. And it really took about 5 years to really start shifting the culture. A number of groups had been collaborating, especially the educators, of course, have been meeting for like 30 years, but it just really hadn't been happening at the leadership level. But by bringing that group together, it allowed the institutions to work together and to do more. And our purpose really is to achieve greater efficiencies, innovation, and excellence, to really nurture the vitality of Balboa Park and its future, to enhance the experience of Balboa Park for our visitors, and also to increase the value of the park to the San Diego region. So I'm not going to go through this list, but you can review it. These are the different areas that we facilitate collaboration in, from group purchasing to environmental sustainability, advocacy. And sort of my piece of the pie is the Balboa Park Learning Institute, which is this professional development program. And actually was one of the first ideas that came out of the collaboration, although it took some time to develop the idea, fundraise, and get it started, and we're actually just 2 years old. And in talking about career paths, as has come up several times today, there's really no other positions like the one that I have, and I never anticipated that I would have it. I was on a very solid museum education career path and had a degree in that, and then decided to go back and expand my learning in nonprofit leadership and management. I knew my reasons why, but a lot of other people didn't understand why I was doing what I was doing, and I didn't really know what it would lead to. But the position that I have now, looking back, it all makes perfect sense. So if you have areas of interest, explore them. You never know how those intersections may lead you to unique and unusual positions. So the point of the Learning Institute is to create meaningful learning opportunities for staff, trustees, and volunteers of the arts and science and cultural institutions in the park, but many of our programs are open more broadly. We really want to build the professional practice and community, and as I mentioned before, create better visitor experiences and deepen our public value. So, as I mentioned, we're just a couple of years old, and we started with a 3-year, $500,000 matching grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which is a federal organization. If you are involved in museum work, I really encourage you to check out their 21st Century Museum Professionals Grant Program, which is what this grant came from. They aren't all this large. You can have more modest programs than what we sought to do, but it's a great resource, and IMLS is just incredible. And if you're looking for funding to do something different, it's a great place to look. What we do with the Learning Institute is we realize there's a lot of expertise in the park already among our colleagues that just wasn't being surfaced and shared. So that's one of the things that we do. And then we bring in outside sort of resources as necessary to complement that. We also, our organization, the partnership as a whole, serves as a hub. If anybody's like, I need a golf cart, or I need extra lighting for this exhibit, do you know where I can find it? Now, through the partnership, there's mechanisms to do that. It's the same with, learning resources. One group called, we're interested in how to do better objectives in planning exhibitions. And I had just seen a presentation given by another one of our museums, and I put them together, or we could form a Learning Institute class around it. And that's really what makes the Learning Institute different than most professional development programs, as you'll see in just a moment. We don't just say, here's our slate of programs for the year, sign up. We really tailor it to what are the key issues and needs of our community. And once we do one thing, we can sort of build on that.